Hello all, it's me, Little Al, back again with another reaction, and yes, we are back with Stories of Sodor, and yes, I'm in a different location this time, but for a different reason than last time, so it's actually a reward for someone very special in my life, and making her YouTube debut is my dog. So recently, over the Christmas period, let me explain some backstory. So basically, over the Christmas period, she had quite a nasty eye infection, which she needed surgery for. So, and she's been a very, very brave little girl, haven't you? You've been a very, very brave girl. And so I decided, as a bit of a reward for that, she could join me in one of my reactions. So like I said, my dog is making her YouTube debut, and also clickbait for the thumbnail. So, like for the dog, okay? Like for the dog, and her face is now her really cute face is now out of shot. That's annoying, but so we're gonna get back into Stories of Sodor. It's been way too long since I've continued with this series, and so we are back with episode 2 of season 4, part 2, which if I'm not mistaken, is called expansion or something like that. I think. Hang on, I'm gonna check. Yeah, I was right. Expansion. So we're gonna get straight into that. With my dog on my lap. Not the entire time. Why can't you cooperate? I'm doing something nice for you. Dogs are grateful creatures, certainly. Anyways, drop the video a like if you enjoy, subscribe to the channel too if you want to see more content like this, especially if you want to see more of the dog. And so we're going to get going in 3, 2, 1.
The train, for its type, is the most powerful vehicle on land.
I remember my last
and
reaction I
the engines of Sodor are the power behind the docks, industries and branch lines that make up the world-renowned Northwestern Railway.
Also, sorry about the mic, it's just...
These are the stories of Sodor.
Being in a new location, I'm still experimenting with like where to put it. Expansion. Again, big welcome back to Victor. A year.
In my story about the closure of the Mid-Sodor Railway, you may recall how...
Before I get into this real quick, I do have to stress that I'm actually 2 episodes behind. So, over the last 2 Fridays, which is when he uploads it, he's released 2 further episodes of this season. So I'm watching this 2 episodes behind, which isn't the best, but... You know, we live and learn, it happens.
Most of its assets were taken on by the Skarloey Railway. Something I didn't mention about that deal was the SKR also took on a large portion of the MSR's staff, including the company's former owner, Sir Handel Brown. He joined the SKR's board of directors and worked his way up to become general manager. Shortly after this appointment, his friend and owner of the SKR, Mr. Peter Sam, had to resign due to health reasons. This effectively gave Sir Handel full control over the railway, and I'm pleased to say, under his leadership, it went from strength to strength. Year after year, ever-growing crowds of people flocked to the line to enjoy its stunning natural beauty and marvel at its diverse fleet. Coupled with a contract from British Railways to supply ballast for the Waterton project, the company was in a strong financial position. Following a particularly profitable season, Sir Handel initiated his long-desired plans to expand into the Natwin Valley north of Crovan's Gate. Phase 1 of this endeavour was to blast through the ridge separating both places, a loud, dirty and dangerous task.
Is this going to be the introduction of Slate to it? Because I remember one of his history videos, he talked about how Slate was introduced in the 1960s. That's what the time period is, so I'm guessing this is where we're finally going to get the iconic Slate Quarry.
When it was completed in the early months of 1961, the expansion began in earnest. Around this time, Sir Handel brought on a new engine to help. Hi there, my name's Rusty. Hello, Rusty. Welcome to the Skarloey Railway. I'm Skarloey.
boy.
Wow, the Skarloey? I've heard about you. It's
you're my
such
girl,
a
okay?
pleasure.
You're my girl.
All right, lads, settle down. There's no need to get overexcited. I'm nothing special, just a humble engine like yourself and Atlas here. How do you do, mate? So where have you come from? The East Cornwall Mineral Railway. I've heard of that one. A pretty old line if I'm not mistaken. What did you do there? Maintenance work. I kept the track in good nick, mended bridges, the whole thing. And if your previous owners can be believed, you did a splendid job. That experience is why I brought him on. Perhaps you might give me a run for my money. Are you the maintenance engine around here? Yep, don't worry, Rusty. That'll only be a problem if you're here to replace me. Is he, Sir Handel? No, of course not. My intention is for both you and Rusty to spearhead the expansion, and there will be a lot more track to take care of when it's done. Far too much for a single engine. Phew, that's a relief. When I first arrived on the East Cornwall, it was to replace the maintenance engine it had. It was faceless, but there were some non-faceless blokes who didn't take kindly to that. Kept going on about diesels taking jobs away from proper engines. Never fear, lad. The only time we'll take issue with you being a diesel is if you bang on about being superior to steamies. Don't worry, I'm nothing like those supremacist snobs BR's pumping out. That's a relief. I do not like conflict on my railway. Now, I'm going...
Victor, your audio editing is normally so top-notch.
To leave you with Atlas. Listen to him, learn from him, and you won't go wrong. Any questions? No, sir. I should be all right. Well, I and my engines are here if you need help. Good luck, Rusty. And again, welcome. Thank you, sir. What a nice man. Just make sure you don't get on his bad side. Stanley can attest to that.
Context,
Who's Stanley? Big bloke with 3 domes. You'll meet him and the others in time. Maybe even today. Our first job is to pick up a train from Krusty Kern at the other end of the line. Sorry, Krusty Kern. It's Sodrian. It fittingly means by the lake. There's a munitions factory there that's been supplying the dynamite we've used for blasting. And we have to collect another load before taking it. Oh dear. What's wrong? Before taking it into the valley. And you know who's working there right now, don't you? Andreas and Duncan. Oh dear. Who's Duncan?
Andreas as well. Andreas is just as bad.
Fizzling fireboxes. Where's Atlas? He should have relieved us 10 minutes ago. I'm sure he'll be along soon. Sooner still if he had larger wheels. Why Mr. Sam took on that little runt, I'll never know. Careful, Duncan. Ooh. You would do well to not insult my friends. This coming from the bloke who didn't think he was a proper engine. And I was wrong then. I realized too late he was as important to the MSR as he is now to the SKR. Need I remind you, he is the reason why our line is in such good...
He will always have a very evil face, though, Andreas. See, what I kind of... Because he was introduced in, like, Wild Wester's series, I believe. I've kind of seen him as, like, the narrow gauge equivalent of Alfred. He's not that. He's not that evil, but... You know, does anyone else see similarities, like in the kind of posture?
Condition? Pah! Anyone with half a smoke box can handle maintenance trains. Perhaps you should take over then. Well, it's about time. What kept you? And what's that rubbish? I'm Rusty. I can see that. What? Couldn't Sir Handel get an engine in good nick? That's his name, Duncan. See? Oh. Imbecile. How do you do, Rusty? I'm Andreas. Welcome to the Skarloey Railway and the Natwin Valley. Thank you, Andreas. I'm thrilled to be here. It's so beautiful. It's almost a pity we have to...
Because I believe it's, there's an actual language associated. I know Victor, he kind of created his own Sodrian language, but I think it's mostly based off a language they spoke in the Isle of Man, which is obviously... in the lore, it's literally Sodor is situated between the Isle of Man and the mainland. So, it's very interesting, the kind of lore and language that Audrey created, which Victor expands on very, very believably.
Destroy some of it to expand. A diesel with a conscience? Now I've heard everything. What's that supposed to mean? It means how can your kind feel bad about anything when you were built solely to replace steamies? I'm not here to replace anybody. I'm here to work just like you. If you worked just like me, then you'd be on time. First off, like bollocks, you're always on time. Second, if he worked like you, he'd constantly complain. And third, we're late because there was a mix-up at the factory. They gave our train to Duke. We had to chase him down to get it back. Another mix-up? Bust my buffers. They've had all sorts of problems ever since they took on that new supervisor. What did you expect? He's the foreman's son. Nepotism is the bane of good
Oh, no.
business. It's a miracle we've survived this
Don't
long because
tell
of
me.
it. Do not start
Don't
that
tell me
again,
it's-
Duncan. Sir Handel became manager through competence and
Oh, it's
excellence,
Sam. Okay,
not the
sorry.
patronage of Mr. Sam. If he was so competent, how come the mid-Sodor closed down? That wasn't his fault. We couldn't compete with the roads. Hogwash. A good manager always finds a way to stay competitive,
comfy, Flo.
and so do the bad ones, especially the bad ones.
Whoops,
How would
I've
you
accidentally
know?
given her
Never
name
you
away.
mind. Come on, let's get out of here. We've had a hard day and I need some rest. Fine. Nice to meet you, Rusty. I look forward to working with you. Yeah, me too.
She's not feeling very videogenic right now. She's shy. Oh. Still. Look at her lovely head.
Is he always like that? No, sometimes he's really unpleasant. So me being a diesel is a factor, but he's a git to all of us, so don't take it personally. I'll try not to. Attaboy. Anyway, we've got a job to crack on to, so what do you say we get started? I say, bombs away!
Bloody hell. That's quite the introduction. I was just expecting, like, the fact it was an explosion, I was expecting some kind of, like, heavy metal music, and then it just comes to the quaint, narrow gauge theme. It's a bit of a buzzkill. Can you imagine, like, a metal transition of this theme? I cannot. I simply cannot. It'd be funny, though. Alright, mate. Right.
Finally, after all these years, what is it? These, Rusty, are the standing stones of Sodor. I've heard about them all my life. Now to look upon
Because I live fairly close to Stonehenge, so is this a reference to that? If it is, nostalgia.
them with my own eyes, you can't imagine. You're right, I can't. You're not impressed, Falcon? No, they're just a pile of rocks to me. And if you're going to flip your lid at that, then you should steer clear of the causeway. These aren't just rocks, Falcon. They're an historic mystery. They've stood for millennia. Nobody knows who built them or why.
It's
Aren't you the
definitely
least bit
based on
curious?
Stonehenge.
Not really. Would it matter if we did find out who built them and why? It's not going to change much. What do you think, Rusty? I'm with you on this one, Scarloey. These stones are very intriguing. I'm sure the tourists will get a kick out of them too. That's a certain.
I've always found that Rusty model to be incredibly strange. Like, look at it. Its eyes are so wide apart, are so far apart. He kind of looks a bit. Actually,
Sir Handel says he's already gotten inquiries about when we'll start running trains out here. Would we really start doing that while we're still building the line?
see, that face is
Probably.
good. That face was good. That confused face. The eyes were a bit further in. It's when he smiles. It just looks strange.
We've already introduced freight and passenger services to Polwich. Might as well properly break in these rails. Speaking of which, well done, Rusty. They're so nice and smooth. If I
Polwich?
didn't
So
know
what does
better,
that
I think
mean?
I was on another rail. What the? What's that? What? Over there in the bushes. Didn't you see? No. What was it? It looked like a bear, but it was standing on two legs? I don't see anything. Are you sure? Maybe my eyes are playing tricks. Or maybe you
They are far apart from you. They are very far apart from each other, to be fair.
saw the Natwin. Wait, the Natwin? Is that an animal? More like folklore. It too is something I've heard about all my life. It's supposedly a creature that lives here in the valley. Described as being humanoid and very hairy, there have been countless sightings over the years, but nothing to definitively
Rusty's
prove it
eyebrows gone?
exists. Do you think it does? Possibly.
There they
Like I
are.
said, there have been a lot of sightings. They can't all be wrong. I think we shouldn't let on if it doesn't exist. Sir Handel's also talking about starting a charter service centered around finding the Natwin. We'll never be able to sell tickets for it if we can't say it might be out there. Or maybe it was just here.
I mean, just look at Inverness. Their lifeblood is the Loch Ness monster. With like pretty much everyone knows it's a hoax, but that they're not going to tell people it's not real. Otherwise, people will stop coming.
Somehow I get the feeling we'll all get to experience our eyes playing tricks on us. He was right about that. Over the next few weeks, there were sightings by workers and engines alike. A local newspaper got wind of this and published an article on the history of the mysterious creature with a follow-up piece on the standing stones. This generated a lot of attention for both anomalies and provided an opportunity Sir Handel was quick to capitalize on. This led to the creation of the Natwin Express. Under this package deal, visitors were taken to the standing stones where a guide would discuss the theories surrounding the megalith's purpose. Afterwards, the group would set off on a nature walk styled as a Natwin hunt. Once this was over, they returned to the lakeside town of Polwich for some light refreshments and a boat ride. The Natwin Express was hugely successful,
very nice.
so much so Sir Handel had to commission extra services to accommodate the demand. He also began rotating the engines so they could each experience the train. Unfortunately, that proved problematic with one of them. How could you be so stupid? They asked if I thought the Natwin was real. I told them it's no more real than the Loch Ness Monster. It's a scam designed to separate money from the gullible and the foolish. What's foolish, Duncan, is your conduct. Thanks to you, we had to issue refunds to everyone you offended, which was the whole flipping train. Good, maybe it'll teach them some sense. And maybe your new assignment will do likewise, since you obviously can't be trusted around tourists.
How do you offend a whole train of passengers? How? What curse words do you need to have in your dictionary in order to offend that many people?
What new assignment? This afternoon I had representation from the fishermen of Polwich. They said they've always had trouble getting their catch out of the valley due to the poor quality of the roads. Now they have rail access. I've commissioned a new service which will be called the Little Kipper, and you, Duncan, shall manage it. What? That's not fair. I hate fish. I get nauseous every time I'm near Krusty Cairn. It's either the fish or ballast deliveries. No maintenance train, sir. That may be on the cards if you mouth off again. Good. I'm fed up with your insubordination, your entitlement, and your persecution complex. You will do the jobs I assign, and you will do them without complaint. If you don't, I shall find ways to cut you down to size. In other words, your career is on the line. Need I say more?
No.
No, sir. May I at least ask how long I'll be handling this?
Or I'll
Little
banish you to
Kipper?
the Shadow Realm.
Until you've developed a new attitude. If I may say, sir, that is a most competent decision. Thank you, Andreas. I'm glad one of you thinks so. Good night.
Be careful.
You sycophantic brat! Excuse me for showing our manager some respect. Perhaps if you did on occasion, you might end up in his good graces. I don't need to be in anyone's good graces. That's never been more apparent than right now. Shut your gob, pipsqueak. How about you shut yours? We've just about had enough of your insults. You're more trouble than you're worth. Is that to say he's no trouble at all?
That was a 10 cents line.
Good morning, Duncan. What's good about it? I barely got any sleep last night, and now I have to carry out this degrading job forced on me by Herr Brown. You won't ever change. What about me? Nothing. Come on, Scarlowy. I'm a plain-speaking engine, and I believe in plain speaking. Speak up. I said you won't ever change. You've got your smoke box so far up your bunker you can't see this is your own doing. So it's my fault our competent manager has got it in for me? Yes, he was right to call you out for your poor attitude. I know I'm certainly sick of it. Maybe if you tried being less abrasive, you wouldn't get lumbered with all these so-called degrading jobs. The hell I wouldn't. It's been my lot in life to always get the arse end of things. Yep, you won't ever change.
That's a very good
Whatever.
way of putting it. The
I have
arse
to
end
go.
of things.
Can't keep the good fishermen of Polwich waiting. All right, but before you head off, take care when passing through the gorge. Some rocks fell on the track during the night. We've repaired the damage, but the rails might still be a little wonky. Pah, I know my way about. I don't need smelly diesels to tell me what to do. Oh, nice.
Maybe he just called all the passengers smelly diesels. That's how he offended the whole train. I mean, I'm not a diesel, but I'm pretty sure if I was called that, I'd be offended.
Are you sure everything is squared away? I don't want a repeat of last week. Oh, for goodness sake, stop harping on about that. No, I will not. Half the dynamite had broken loose because it was incorrectly stored. Blame it on the prats who didn't do their jobs. That's what I'm doing. As supervisor, you should have checked to make sure the job was done properly. The chaps at Croven's Gate said it was a miracle my last train didn't explode. Right now, I kind of wish it had. You cad. Watch it with the abuse or I'm telling my father. Are you being serious? You're a grown
Telling
man.
Daddy on me,
Call my
are you?
bluff then. Fine. Go and cry to Daddy, you weakling.
Hey,
you're in
stop
for
my
it
life.
now. Oh my
I called
god,
it.
he's really doing it. Pathetic. I'll say, even more so if we stick around for it. How about we leg it before... Oh. Please, Murray, go home. No, I'm all right. You are not all right. You've barely been able to stand this past hour, and I could fill my water tanks with your sweat. You need a doctor. Yeah, you're right, but I can't leave you now.
You need help.
Yes, you can.
Medical help.
I can make this delivery by myself.
That's effectively what
sure
Andreas
Sir
is
Handel
saying.
won't mind you running crewless? If he does, I'll take responsibility for it. Go on now. Get yourself checked. Thanks, Andreas. I'll see you when I see you. See you soon.
This is going to end in tragedy, isn't it? Shoepack? What's he doing here? To be fair, he basically gets fired from every job that he gets. I've watched every other episode, okay? That face. Sleep on us and ballast, I'm off! It's very intense music.
I warned you! Shut up! I warned you! But all you did was call me names! And I'll keep doing it if you don't bug off! Duncan, why are you like this? Aggressive? Angry? Defiant? Did something happen to you? Yes. All my life I've been surrounded by spiteful, rude, disrespectful sods who treat me like rubbish. Pot calling the kettle red. What are you doing here? Trying to deliver a train of dynamite into the valley.
dead than
They
red.
said you
I
derailed,
heard
so I
that.
came over to see if Rusty needed help. No, thank you, Andreas. Everything's sorted. Good work. I don't suppose our belligerent colleague here has said anything to that effect. What do you think? Is it so hard to say thank you, Rusty? Why would I thank him for doing his job? How many times have I been thanked for doing the same? It's always about you, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder why I bother talking to you. I wonder
Yes.
the same thing. Anyway, I'm back on the rails and I've got a train to take. Where's your...
It's a very interesting character dynamic, Andreas and Duncan. Because like Andreas is almost like he used to be kind of like Duncan, but he's almost more reformed. And seeing Duncan, who's yet to be reformed, so to speak. I say reformed; they're not really villains, but you know they're antagonists in a sense. They have been antagonists in the past.
train, Andreas?
Where the hell are you going? Oh, for a piss. Okay. Why is that hissing sound? Why is the audio being distorted? Oh dear. Yep, no, yep. Oh, now you've gone and done it.
My train! Oh god, that damn supervise!
Avalanche!
Landslide! Get clear!
Oh. Same thing.
Duncan, look out!
Save Duncan's life now. Change his views, perhaps.
Andreas!
Not Andre. He's not dead, is he?
He was a good
Can't
man, dedicated, hardworking, loyal. He'll be sorely missed. And he shouldn't be. He should be here resting after a hard day's work. But thanks to you, Duncan, that won't happen. How's this my fault? If you hadn't ignored Rusty's warning, you wouldn't have derailed and he wouldn't have been in the gorge. But his train would have still exploded. How many might have died had that happened in the heart of Pulwich or any of the work sites? So it's better he was the only one who snuffed it? Of course not. It's horrible. He died a damn hero saving my life. Oh God. You're
So
right,
he's actually
Atlas.
dead?
This is my fault. I got him killed. No, Duncan, you didn't. They just completed the initial investigation. The dynamite on board Andreas' train was improperly stored, contrary to the safety checks signed off by the supervisor.
Fucking
the
hell.
mongrel! Yes, he's been taken into custody. The factory has also offered compensation, which we will
This took a
use to
dark
repair the
turn.
damage we've suffered. I'd be happy to help with that, sir. Steady on, Duncan. You deserve some rest. You worked the hardest to rescue Andreas, and I failed. The workman said he was dead the moment the rock struck him. There was nothing you could have done. Yes, sir, there was. Well, there's no point dwelling on that since it won't bring him back, will it? No, sir, but I am serious. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, just say the word. Well, if you
My
insist,
G.
I'll put you in charge of the repair operation. Thank you, sir. I won't let you
My
down.
guy.
I believe that. Sir Handel, can we hold a funeral for Andreas? Absolutely. I've already planned one for this Friday. If anyone wishes to say a few words, you're more than welcome. Andreas's memorial was a solemn event for the Skarloey Railway. Amidst the tears, many heartfelt eulogies were given. We offered our condolences, but I dare say it did little to alleviate the grief and anger felt by the narrow gauge engines. The supervisor was sent to prison on a number of charges. Though he was justifiably blamed for the catastrophe, some of the chaps, specifically those formerly of the Mid-Sodor Railway, held Duncan equally responsible. As Stewart would put it, the supervisor pulled the trigger, but you put him in the crosshairs. Indeed, those claims came at the SKR's number 6 with the speed and ferocity of bullets. Amazingly, Duncan didn't say a word in reply. He was completely silent throughout this abuse and threw himself into his work. Thanks to his tireless efforts, all the damage inflicted was repaired. With access to the Natwin Valley restored, the expansion could continue. I wish Andreas' death was the only hardship the SKR experienced during that time, but I'm afraid to say the worst was yet to come.
Don't see how a death can possibly be worse. Well, that took a bit of a dark turn, not gonna lie. But I think because the same applies to I'm not gonna another death which was also this season. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but when you see the episode, then you'll definitely understand who I'm talking about. But no, that was no. Hang on. Let me finish my point. I was just about to do an outro, but I didn't finish my point. He kind of these kind of happen. Not as big an impact are made over these as like other shows would, because Andreas, like, he was a fairly major character. You have to think he was a fairly major character, but Victor Tanzig, it's not about kind of focusing in on specific characters. It's about kind of documentary. It's called Stories of Sodor. It's about the island and kind of its history. Well, kind of like a more grounded real life history. And to make it as grounded as possible, that factor of death has to be a factor. Especially considering how human, like quote unquote human, the engines are in this series. Like how they're given like the choice to die, or kind of ways of they're given like actual rights. But no, kind of having that as a kind of factor, and having, because like if you think about the time period, much less safety precautions were during times like these, and so like deaths on these kind of atmospheres were a commodity, unfortunately. Thankfully, we have more safety precautions nowadays, but back then it wasn't as big of a deal. So I can imagine we're going to see like less deaths as the series goes on. But I'm just saying, I really like how it's kind of Andreas's death is sort of underplayed here. Death is not, because I remember like Stories of War. I remember like each death was like a huge tragedy. There was always like some kind of, I don't know, just deaths felt more impactful then, but I kind of like how it's less impactful now. It's very good writing, I feel. So that was fun. That was I'm so glad to be getting back into Stories of Sodor. I know they don't necessarily get views, but I do think but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy this series, and kind of talking about this series as well, because like it's a bit it's a bit difficult to kind of write a review on this kind of thing when you're having these thoughts when watching it. That's the kind of beauty of Victor Tanzig's series. And also another reason, I hope you enjoyed this. was because this little munchkin certainly did. Seriously, you can see a bit of outline of the eye that was infected. It's gotten so much better, and she's been a very, very brave girl, and I'm very proud of her. So I thought I'd reward her with this little moment in the spotlight. But if you want to see more of her, of my dog, please do let me know. She's very thumbnail genic material. So like for the dog, like for the video itself, like for the lovable chap that's doing a reaction for you guys. This is Little Al speaking. I will see you guys next time, and